Okay. Are you seeing this now, guys? Because we were having issues. I'm going to let Nick know. Dude, I need you to change the logo. It's Matt's. I'm going to have to do this stuff ahead of time in the future, guys. I thought I had a team handling it because I'm not that bright. But there you go. And I think I already see David Schuster here because we're running late. So I haven't even done my rant yet. I may have to do it with David on here while we're having things fixed. Let me add David. David, how are you?
I'm good. Why don't you rant solo?
Well, I've got, we've got Matt Robertson, who uses this on Tuesdays. I don't understand why his logo is up there. All good, Cliff, breathe. I'm breathing. We're cool.
Worth knowing.
Yes, I will admit, MJ, the sheer number of things that seem to be able to go wrong when I'm trying to do anything technical is amazing. You know what? I will start the rant. Nicholas, if you're out there, change the logo as soon as you can. It's a button on StreamYard. You can toggle it off. There's no way I'm gonna be able to figure that out, especially while live right now. So either you can go in there, Nicholas, and hopefully change it for me. I think you guys did that before while I was on, or we're gonna have to live with this. But we got to figure this out for the future, just because I don't know. We got to make sure we get this right for folks. All right, I'm gonna rant. We're starting now. All right, guys. So let's talk for a second about the sanctity of marriage, the most important thing to Kentucky Fried Cornhole, Kim Davis. Kim Davis is very important. You may remember her if you're young. About a decade ago, this special and corpulent woman came forward and told as a county clerk and said she wouldn't marry gay couples in Kentucky in the county she was in because, well, it went against her religious beliefs. What's interesting is her religious beliefs seem to include having a first husband, and they seem to include having a second husband. And then there was the sanctity of her third marriage, and I believe there was the sanctity of her fourth marriage. But she was having a child with the third husband while she was with the first husband. I'm not sure what the second husband was doing then. I think maybe he was doing like a Three's Company thing where he's like listening in like Chrissy and hearing all the wrong stuff. And, who knew what was happening? Who's number four? We don't know. Is it a farm animal? Is it a human? Who the hell knows? There's no sanctity in any of Kim Davis's marriages. She cheated on all of her freaking husbands and has four of them. But of course, it offends her, the sanctity of her marriages. If any gay couple chooses to commit to each other and get married, love each other, and be happy and productive members of society, what will she do besides maybe go spend an hour on the treadmill every day, which wouldn't be a bad idea anyhow. So we get stuck with it going to the Supreme Court. We know we have an Opus Dei controlled Supreme Court. Yeah, that's right. They're like the character in the Da Vinci Codes, and they're whipping themselves half the time for their sins. I mean, Alito, when he's not busy flying his flag upside down and taking free flights to Rome, has to ensure that we all live by his 15th century precepts of man, woman, and all the above. All right. The thing that gets me, and has always gotten me, of course, in fact, I did a segment back in the day, and I won't make any comment on on these folks, but I did a segment back in the day. It was a show called The Young Turks. I think David's heard of it. The first thing I did in this business, and it was called Republicans Excapades. And I would go on once a week and point out the complete hypocrisy of these people who were going out, had spent their lives going after Bill Clinton, Dan Burton, and these other people that were cheating on their spouses, had kids with other people. And it was really just to point out, I wouldn't judge their lives, but the unbelievable fucking hypocrites that they were. And so I sat here doing a little bit of math. Here's my calculator. I'm going to work on that. Let's see. Kim Davis has had 4 marriages. Let's add that to Donald Trump, 5 kids with 3 different wives, cheating on the last one with a porn star while Barron was a few months old. That's 3 from Donald. Then Rudy Giuliani. He's not even with the third wife anymore. Who knows? It could be a Mrs. Giuliani the fourth in the future. He married a cousin the first time. We're not going to get into that. And then the second time, verbally abused his wife and actually got divorced from her on television. Told on television, announced his divorce without talking to her first. Sanctity, folks, of marriage. And that's right. Then there was the third person I want to name, Newt Gingrich, who my God, was he offended by what Bill Clinton was doing? Lordy, lordy, lord, old little Newt couldn't handle it. He was just, had thought it might wet himself. He was so upset. And then it turned out, shockingly, that he was having an affair while he was trying to impeach Bill Clinton for having an affair. But that was with his third wife, who, he was the one that looks, stares straight ahead like Kash Patel, looks like a predator. I mean, the movie Predator. He was cheating with her. She was a staffer on the second wife. The best maybe was he married a teacher who was his first wife. We got cousins, we got teachers, we got porn stars. This is the sanctity of Republican marriage. Okay. He married so Newt, I believe, and David can correct me if he remembers this, but I believe he was the teacher who was in the hospital with cancer when he served her with divorce papers because he wanted to marry the second wife, who then he cheated on with a staffer who became the third wife. So again, I'm not a math major, but I've got 4 people in the Republican Party and 13 marriages, and shit, that's some serious sanctity right there, ain't it? They just never can leave the rest of us the fuck alone. They never can get past their self-loathing. We get it. You're insecure. You hate yourself. You're predators. You all are. We see it. The ones who are financial predators, as I wrote a piece on in Substack. Elon Musk, sexually harassed, settlement at SpaceX. Donald Trump, we don't need to go into, obviously. There's even something came up with Michael Cohen the other day that maybe that he had to help our Mr. Trump get off of one of the rape accusations. Okay, I want to put it that way because, again, I should say alleged, whatever. It's all of it's horrific, and of course, Trump was best friends with this guy. And this ties directly into the Epstein thing because there's a Democratic cabal of those who are preying on young children, except for it was Republican. They are always projecting onto us. And that's why it'd be ironic if the Epstein thing takes them down. Not ironic in that way, horrific in all other ways that us humans process information, and those of us who have the ability to care about other people and think that they shouldn't just be exploited for everything they are. So, I mean, again, Giuliani on TV, Newt Gingrich, when she has cancer. I mean, you can, Donald Trump with the porn star and this and that, and Kim Davis she's mixing up husbands like it was bingo for her there in I don't remember which county of Kentucky it was, but good for her, good old Kim. Well, she was gone for a while, and that was nice. And now she's suing, and this may go to the Supreme Court. It looks like it will, and this may be their way of overturning gay marriage for the sanctity of her 4 marriages and whatever other kinds of primates she's been engaged in relationships with, be they of the Homo sapien kind or anything else. I'll remind you also that those who led this charge the last time were all exposed for being gay. The guy who led before the Supreme Court legalized, and many states legalized marriage equality, gay marriage, call it what you will. I think it was Schrock, was it Ed Schrock? Maybe David will remember, I'm not sure. Was a congressman from Virginia, and he was sponsoring it in the House for Republicans. Until, of course, they uncovered where he called into a gay sex line numerous times. And then there's my little memento here that I will show you that I love to show, which is, you may remember or not, apparently there's a lot going on in the Minneapolis. Who would think Minneapolis, right? You think LA, New York. Apparently the Minneapolis men's bathroom was like Studio 54 at times. Larry Craig got caught in there because he had a really wide stance when he peed. That was what he told the arresting officers. I went to a conference once in Minneapolis, and somebody who heard me talk about this on Excapades gave me this look. It's the dancing foot of Larry Craig in the stall. Yeah, he sponsored the gay marriage amendment in the Senate and got arrested for having a wide stance. So both the sponsors in the Senate and the House. And I'm sure, old porn monitor Mick Johnson there, he seems very much like he couldn't be of the same ilk. And Lindsay, fainting couch, Graham, and the rest of them, go the fuck away, all of you self-loathing losers. Maybe if there are self-help. I mean, it's a huge industry out there, self-help. Find the ones that aren't con men and women like you and get yourself help. Learn to love yourself, learn to respect yourself, learn to respect other people, like the spouse you have that you shouldn't cheat on. Learn to respect the boundaries of, hey, she's 16 years old, that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and allegedly, apparently, not in Jeffrey Epstein's case, could not respect, although we know from a lawsuit from a 13-year-old, a horrific one, that allegedly Donald Trump couldn't respect anything. I'm so tired of these people who hate themselves deciding that we somehow hate ourselves just as much and need them to tell us what to do with our lives. We don't fucking need you. We don't hate our lives. We accept the things that are wrong with us. I could tell you 15 things with me that, and I shouldn't say wrong with us, the things that are challenging about us. To them, maybe because their religious beliefs, it's challenging to be gay. Grow up. We've all had to adjust to things that we didn't expect in life, and maybe learn a little bit, maybe open your mind, maybe stop being an asshole, maybe stop judging your neighbors. Jesus guy said something about that, and didn't say anything, as John Fugelsang reminded us on the show, about gay relationships and marriage. And you can go back to your Old Testament, the Jewish one. Ironic, isn't it, that they do that? But again, enough. Stay out of our lives. If the Supreme Court overturns this too, this illegitimate stolen seat Supreme Court that has already upended, campaign finance law, looks like they're about to upend fully the Voting Rights Act, finally give it its death now, turned guns into individual things to be owned, which they never were. And why wouldn't they destroy this too? I am interested with the sort of the now large majority in favor of gay marriage, how that will just end up making them hate it even more. But I don't see how there will be responsible members of that court who will stand up. Roberts tried to stand up and get them to come to some sort of a compromise on abortion rights. The others refused to do it. So then he just said, all right, I don't agree with what you're doing, but gee, I don't want to look like a liberal or something. And he threw in with them. So it was a 6-3 decision, even though he was going to allow, I believe, abortions during the first trimester. They're all Republicans in robes, and they're hypocrites and they're liars, just like the elected members. So this may be another fight we have to engage in. But again, for the last time, I'll just say it. Those of us here, we would be so happy if you would just go the fuck away. You want to hang out in your little white communities, your self-hating communities, whatever, just do it. Leave the rest of us alone. Those of us who've embraced modernity, actually find it interesting to meet people that are different than us. Take a risk here and there. Whew, crazy. And really, that's all I have to say at this point. Kim Davis, good luck, though, with husband number 5. I'm hoping that is finally the one that has the sanctity you've been searching so hard for.
Cliff, I did a segment similar to this several years ago, and one of the comments that kept coming up from people who were writing in is, why is it that this tends to happen so often with Republicans, that here they are in the front lines of battling against gay marriage and LGBTQ rights, and so many of them, it turns out, are gay or LGBTQ. And there's a term that a lot of us like to sort of throw around, which I'm not a psychologist, but the answer clearly is projection. It's a term in psychology when you have something about yourself. Sometimes it's unconscious, sometimes it is conscious, and you don't like it. And so what you do is you overcompensate for it by criticizing others who represent some of the same stuff that you have. So, for example, if you are a self-hating, gay person, and you've convinced yourself, oh, I'm straight, I'm not gay, then what you do is you go after people who are gay, and you try to eliminate gay
some of these
marriage.
Latinos for Trump, right? Who went after who destroyed immigrant communities.
Exactly. So there's a projection out there, and you can see it repeatedly. And the problem that I see, aside from the psychological stuff, is that so many of our institutions now have also sort of enabled and allowed this. And when you were talking about Newt Gingrich and serving divorce papers on his wife when she was in the hospital in cancer, there was a time, and this goes back now maybe 18, 19 years ago, when and I remember we did a segment on this at Notre Dame, I think, at MSNBC. So Notre Dame wanted to give, in the midst of all of this, Notre Dame University wanted to give Newt Gingrich an honorary degree. And
what?
So, we used to have this segment called Hypocrisy Watch, and this was like a no-brainer. Like Notre Dame, you tend to stand for ethics, and generally, I think a fine university and good ethics and Catholic traditions, whatever. But the idea that they would be so naive as to say, okay, well, we're going to give Newt Gingrich an honorary degree when he is the last person who represents Catholic, values and all that sort of thing. It was bizarre, and so again, the institution of whether it's Notre Dame University or whether it's other institutions that allow this. And I'm, also reminded of, Marjorie Taylor Greene and the fight that she's having right now with Laura Loomer, who's Donald Trump.
And Laura
top
Loomer is willing to say
advisor.
things that we are not.
Yeah, and just saying that, Marjorie Taylor Greene has had, multiple affairs at the gym that she was working out on, whatever. So, and all of these sort of institutions, these individuals say, oh, this is wrong, this is immoral rot, and yet the institutions they work for or the institutions that they associate with enable it or allow it or look the other way, and so they're able to get away with it.
No, you're right. And again, I think, and I see that Rex is here and we're running about a minute or two late, so we're going to put him in a second. I hope there's a camera there. Rex, I see. Oh, yeah, look, he turned it on. And then we'll introduce Rex Hubkkey, who some of you may, I've had him on before. I think you would know him from his amazing writing. But yeah, I think if we talk often about the normalization of Trump, and again, when people ask me, why I go on the rants I go on against mainstream or corporate media, not you, Rex. Rex is one of the exceptions, everybody. He's amazing. But in general, why I do that, it's because long before Trump, they normalized Mitch McConnell's behavior, which they knew was antithetical to any intelligent person writing about policy or politics. Knew that Mitch McConnell was stealing Supreme Court seats, knew that he was filibustering in a way that filibuster doesn't even exist in the Constitution, but a way that had never been done before. But they normalized what he did, and that destroyed the Senate. And before that, they normalized what Newt Gingrich did. All right. And that's what you're saying right now. Institutions like Notre Dame didn't take a look at him when he was trying to literally say, hey, well, we can't beat this president at the ballot box, so we're going to impeach him, with Bill Clinton. And they didn't look at that and say, hold on, this is political warfare, via constitutional methods. You can't do this and all come out against Gingrich. In fact, it was his own caucus that threw him out. Because he was a weak and terrible, clownish leader. He was sort of Trump 1.0. And so that's the thing that gets me, is that they every step of the way, they've normalized, overall corporate media has normalized what Trump and the party before, members who came before, Sarah Palin. I mean, the fact that she could ever even be picked as a vice president and people could be like, oh yeah, that paved the way for Trump, And so let's bring in, and speaking of Sarah Palin, who was, didn't read a newspaper. She read all the newspapers, and she remembered when who was it who came through town during the revolution, ringing all those bells and blowing all those whistles, and she talked a lot intelligently about the country of Africa. It goes on and on. She was a very unsmart person, and it turns out we have a very unsmart person in Donald Trump in office right now, getting dumber all the time. And the great Rex Hubkkey here, who, by the way, if you don't read Rex's work at USA Today, you're missing something special. Like, he is, you all know I have a soft spot and a love for humor. Anybody who can write a deadly serious piece and just excoriate the other side and yet make you laugh along the way, which is what Rex does, you have me at hello. So Rex Hubkkey, former Chicago Tribune columnist, former lots of other places writer that I don't remember, and now USA Today. I think you're a combo political and humor columnist. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it depends on the yeah. I jump around. I generally default to satire and whatever, but things are gross and awful enough that I tend to weigh in with some seriousness on occasion as well.
Have you met David Schuster before?
Hey Rex, pleasure to meet you. When Cliff mentioned your name, I said, wait a second, isn't he the same guy who just wrote this column for USA Today about Donald Trump saying things that nobody understands? And in fact, I pulled it up, and sure enough, that was it. The column is "Nobody knows what Trump is talking about anymore, and no one seems to care." And you pointed out that twice in Trump's news conference the other day, he referred to Alaska as being part of Russia. We're going to Russia. We've got a big meeting in Russia. And then on top of that,
was a Stalin talking point back in the day.
Then on top of that, you put together 5 or 6 sentences of Donald Trump's absolute word salad when he was, I think, talking about Chicago and other big cities and the water coming down in LA and him ordering the military, and it didn't make any sense. And you just put it verbatim in your column, and it was brilliant.
And I just want to say quickly before Rex gets to that, Rex lives in Chicago, so I think he can speak to whether there's an issue there. I literally was in Chicago 2 nights ago seeing Linkin Park, by the way. Awesome. And crazy things happened. We rocked, we rolled. I had some stuff to drink. Nobody murdered me. Nobody shot me. Nobody beat me up. And we walked from our hotel to the United Center. It was insane. You can live through these experiences. So I'll let Rex take it from there.
Oh, that's a lot of jumping off points there. Glad you had fun at Lincoln Park, and
thank you.
Yeah, I've only been murdered in Chicago 3 times this year, so things are fine. No, I mean that's just to start real quick with that. Chicago's been the sort of whipping city for all comments about violence and whatnot for a long time. Chicago does have a violence and has for a long time had a violence problem. However, nobody on the right, when they bring this up, and particularly Donald Trump, ever gives it any context, right? It never looks at the fact that we are a massive city, right? So not to downplay the bad of what's happening when there are years of extreme violence here. It's horrible. And I've covered a lot of it. I've seen the damage that this does to families and everything. Yes, but we aren't even close to the murder capital, per capita in any way, shape, or form. And the very idea that you cannot, the people who are like, oh, I don't want to go to Chicago, I'm going to get shot. Please. First of all, I've been in every part of this city, from the nice to the not nice, as a reporter, and that it just isn't that, right? I mean, there's people that say, well, you can't drive across the west side of Chicago, you'll get shot. Baloney. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's an absolute absurdity. There are places where violence happens. There are very low income areas that have myriad problems, of which violence is just one. But this whole idea, and it's so funny now to watch all of the super tough bro dude right-wing podcasters who guzzle, bicep blast supplements and work out 5 times a day and own 37.
Isn't it like the dude at Judicial Watch who always wears the girl's small t-shirt so he can show off? What's his name? I can't even think of his name.
I got out of the cab in DC and a teen looked at me. It's like they're all out now. And it's like, okay, tough guy.
Oh, so, Tom Fitton. That's his name. Right?
Yeah, Tom Fitton, right? Tom not fitting in his shirt. It's just ridiculous. And it always has been, and it's hard to fight. But now that you have Trump really just creating an alternate reality and saying, today at a press conference for the Kennedy stuff, he said, those numbers were all fake. It's way worse than anybody can imagine. It's like, no, it's not, man. I mean, just shut the fuck up. It's so frustrating. And especially living in a city that has been maligned for so long, with no actual concern for the human beings in this city who are struggling, right? Not just with violence, but with poverty, with poor education, with a lack of resources, no parks. I mean, you name it. And I said this back when Rahm Emanuel was mayor. I mean, I don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican or whoever is saying this kind of crap. You don't care. You don't care about the kids that are getting killed. You care about, an agenda of some sort, whatever that happens to be. And in Trump's case, obviously, it's just, a power grab, and it's an attempt to sort of test drive militarizing big cities. But you don't care. He doesn't give a crap about anybody, whether it's the homeless or whether it's victims of gun violence, because they don't do anything, right? You want to help people, then you get. I mean, I don't remember if it was Pam Bondi or Janine Pirro. Name your awfulness.
I was going to say they're almost the same person.
Yeah, it's just a box. They're separated by a box of wine. That's all.
There you go.
One of them yesterday said that they don't care about the root causes, and I'm like, well, then okay. What are you doing here? Right. I mean, you don't care. Right. That's it. This is all just nonsense. And it's really frustrating. Again, as someone who has been there when families have found out that their kid was murdered, someone who's seen people shot in the streets in acts of violence in areas where you can tell what the root of that problem is. Right. And it's not,
it's they had too much Medicaid, obviously, and too many meals through SNAP. So you want to cut that stuff because, making people more desperate definitely doesn't make them more violent. Nobody is angrier when they're hungry. And I'll kick it back to David, but I mean, this is so important because again, this comes sort of from my background and what I worked in working on the issue of guns for so many years. And they always try that crap too. They trot that out alongside this. They won't mention that. I mean, you mentioned kids. Well, that guns are now the #1 killer of kids in the country. They went past cars about 5 years ago because, well, we kept regulating cars and kept unregulating guns. And like, well, why doesn't it work in Chicago? I'm like, it's amazing. We don't have these things where when somebody crosses a border with a gun from a place where they can get it with like, even if they can breathe or not breathe, you probably buy one when they're dead in Gary, Indiana, because Indiana has no laws around guns. And, something like 40 or 50% of the guns they were finding in crimes at that time were coming from Gary. When you added up the other percentages, like 10% of them were being sourced maybe in Chicago.
Yeah.
But they've exacerbated that problem a billion times over. Deregulate guns in all of these states surrounding, Chicago, and then it's Chicago's fault somehow that they've done that. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. Well, and the larger point here that I think you've been making is that reality is irrelevant to Donald Trump, and so I guess my question for you, and this is sort of gets to your column, is that Donald Trump. He constantly suspends reality or says things that are simply not true, or says things that are grotesque and demented, whatever it is, and he gets away with it. And so the question becomes, why does he get away with it? Does he get away with it because we're now in this post-factual world where anybody can say anything and find somebody online to back it up? Or is it because maybe our institutions simply don't have the ability to deal with the lies and the mendacity that Donald Trump presents at a level we've never seen before?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the latter. And I'm careful, as a journalist, as someone who long before I became a columnist, I was a reporter for a long time. So I know the business, I know the rules and the ethics and the, how we do things. And I know that it is hard, right? I wrote stories, that had to be balanced about people who I couldn't stand personally, but, you had to be fair and whatever. So I understand that it's difficult, but we are well past the point of excusing the way a lot of mainstream news organizations are covering this president, right? It is not like, I remember during the first term, it took, and I was a columnist then, it took a while before the Tribune would allow me to say he lied, like use the word lied. They finally came around on that. And again, I mean, I got the hesitancy that, these are like, but anyway, we're way past that. And the way in which this guy is normalized is perverse. The fact that the White House press corps sits there in this goon fest White House briefing where they're allowing these complete knucklehead right-wing idiots out there to ask questions. And not, I shouldn't say that. I mean, just right-wing, people who have, said horrendous things before. They shouldn't be allowed anywhere near the White House, much less a press briefing. And you've got like legitimate news organizations like the Times and the Post and the Journal and other places sitting there alongside, like Dougie Dipshit, who has a podcast that blathers nonstop right-wing garbage. And so it's all just ridiculous at this point. And I don't believe, look, if you have a source and that source lies to you, maybe once you can let it go if it's a really good source and then they get back to being reliable. If a source lies to you more than once, you're done with that source. Okay.
Right.
So all they do during these press briefings is lie. And yet the press corps sits there and laps it up and everybody's got their own question they want to get to. So they don't follow up. It's maddening to me as a journalist. I don't understand it. It's an access issue for them. And it's frustrating, but what happens, and this is more to your point, David, and I'm sorry I got off on the violence stuff a little bit, but the reason that I've been trying more to insert full transcribed quotes from Donald Trump into columns when I'm writing about his lack of sanity is because people don't see that, right?
Yes.
I mean, like we are tied in, right? We're watching live, the press conference for the Kennedy thing or whatever. 99% of the country is not doing that, right? Like most people are too busy. It's not part of their job to do that or whatever. So they're seeing on the nightly news or in the paper little, chunks. that do not even come. I mean, it's the sane washing is, we've heard that a million
Right.
times, and that's what it's doing. So that quote that I put in the column the other day was, 10 sentences or so of just gibberish. You could absolutely pull a snippet out of a sane snippet out of that sprawling quote, but you shouldn't do that because it hides the fact that he is absolutely bonkers. And
I was going to say, I don't want to cut you off, but I just want to say I'm so happy you're doing that, because that is the problem, right? When I get in these, like with the few people I know, and they grow fewer all the time, that support this garbage, or at least ostensibly support Trump, and some of them are people that, due to familial connections, are not ones that I can separate myself from anyhow. They really don't know a lot of this stuff. They don't see it. I remember telling one about sharks and batteries, and he was like, "What?" And I'm like, Trump had been ranting about like sharks and batteries for 2 weeks straight at that point.
Yeah.
And they had no idea because it wasn't being shown on Fox, and it wasn't being shown, so, you putting all of those quotes in there, because a lot of people read USA Today, because again, that's what gets me angry. And people are like, "Oh, you want a partisan liberal media?" I'm like, no, I just want the truth. Like, if they would just put his quotes and quote him in context in these articles and let people decide for themselves, I'd be great with that.
Well,
I don't need their opinion on it, but they don't do that.
I want to read actually part of the quote that Rex put, and this is where Donald Trump talking. I guess I'm not sure what he's talking about. He says, "When I look at Chicago and I look at LA, if we didn't go to LA 3 months ago, LA would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If you would have allowed the water to come down, which I told them about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into LA. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires, but that was it. We have it coming down, but hopefully LA is watching. The mayor also, the city is burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire." I mean, it's like, I
believe the question was something like, do you think that the sending the National Guard to DC is a model for possibly going into other cities?
Was that slam poetry?
Yeah, that's right. Whatever it is he's saying is bananas regardless, but it
suggests what
the question was.
And it seems to prove the allegation that Donald Trump has dementia, or he's got some sort of cognitive decline. And you point out that, what about the Biden standard? I mean, is Jake Tapper now going to write a book about Donald Trump 5 years from now, the way he did about Joe? I mean, what happened to people saying, "Hey, we just held a former president. We put him under scrutiny because of stuff that we all sort of saw. Why is this not happening with this president?"
Yeah, that's what pisses me off so much, frankly, because so I believe people won't agree. Saying objectively these days doesn't really work because nobody buys it. Okay, but objectively, Joe Biden was surrounded by competent people. Okay, His administration was run by normal, smart people
who are accomplished in each of their areas.
Exactly, who knew what they were doing. Donald Trump is exactly the opposite. He's a bunch of Fox News schmucks. It's ridiculous. And again, that is not really something that any logical person can debate. So if Joe Biden's mental acuity was a concern, and I will not say it wasn't a concern. I get it. I think that's a reasonable thing to suspect, although I never saw the addled whatever the way they described it. I never saw it as being that bad.
His age, and I wrote ads for him in 2020, and I will say it was fair to ask those questions, just not to make that the sole thing you concentrate on while the other guy is a complete fucking lunatic.
Right, exactly. And so now, if you were doing it with this guy, you damn well better be doing it with this guy, because this guy's got a supporting cast that is nutso, and there should be no sense of calm or don't worry, they got this. Here with Biden, I felt all right, and I think a lot of people, realistically, if they were honest with themselves, they felt all right about who the supporting cast was.
Yeah,
but Trump, good lord, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. JD Vance, for that matter. I mean, JD Vance has no experience and is bizarro world figure. So
I mean, even previous Republican administrations, I mean, yes, we had heck of a job Brownie, and look, that bit us in the ass, something fierce. Bush, not to argue anything, because he was terrible as a president too, just not on the level of this guy, in my humble opinion. But even he, in the major positions, would put someone, and we can all argue over, and I will be the guy that will fight over what they did in Iraq as just one of the most horrific mistakes in American history, not mistakes, horrific actions. And what Colin Powell in the end lent his gravitas to, I'm sure he regretted for the rest of his life.
Yeah, sure.
But the point is in putting in Colin Powell, it was reassuring people by putting in a legitimate figure. Like in the big positions, they at least tried to put, past Republicans, legitimate figures in who had accomplished years in their field. Now it's, hey, let's put Robert Kennedy in, the anti-vax lunatic over there when it comes to that. And let's put in, the box of wine woman as a DC, what is she, the DC prosecutor or whatever the hell Pam Bondi, who illegally accepted money from Donald Trump as the AG. I mean, every one of them is compromising. And at some point you have to believe that's on purpose, right? Because he can control them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, no question. I mean, I mean, it's the whole thing is it's a grift of on such a massive scale. It's unprecedented, I think. And it's all just unfolding in front of our face. And that's the other thing that's frustrating to me about the way, again, I try to be careful when I am, talking about the media, to not just paint with a full-on broad brush, because, as much as people are critical of different news organizations for various forms of coverage, then those same news organizations turn around and break a huge story. I mean, Wall Street Journal had was leading the Epstein stuff until that all of a sudden got quiet. And, Washington Post, New York Times have all done really good investigative reporting on Trump, either in the previous administration and in this one or in between. So I want to be kind of careful who I'm knocking, but as sort of, generally speaking, the incompetence is glaring and should be, as a service to readers, trumpeted. It is not a matter of opinion to highlight the incompetence of these.
It's objective truth. When you talk about being objective, Paul Krugman once pointed out while he was still at the New York Times, and said, being objective isn't saying, well, they say it's chocolate and they say it's vanilla, and even it's something like that, and even though it's chocolate, but they get the right to say it's vanilla. There are certain facts. Gravity exists. You can't
even if you want to use the standard, I think that you were getting at, and that is, did Joe Biden's mental acuity, did it affect policy? No, it didn't. Yeah. Even if that's your standard, and if people are hesitant to get into Donald Trump's dementia because, well, is it really affecting policy? In this case, yes. I mean, Donald Trump's tariffs have been so chaotic that business after business has said we can't make plans because it's on again, it's off again, and the chaos itself is causing economic problems. So even if that's your standard, Donald Trump's inability to be stable, it does have a policy impact. And that's why I don't understand, why aren't there more people, more media organizations, journalists, folks like Jake Tapper, who are making this a daily story?
And they should. Right after let me let you in. Go ahead, Rex. Sorry.
No. Yeah. I mean, how can the focus during the campaign and during much of Biden's term have been so sharply on the economy, food costs, these sorts of things, all legitimate issues. But now, we're 6, pushing 7 months into this mess, food costs are not down, right? The economy is, showing a lot of troubling signs, regardless of the market doing, maintaining its generally high, level that it was at under Biden. But and this guy's, talking about building a ballroom in the White House, and he's putting gold everywhere. And he's at the Kennedy Center thing saying how now he's going to host the Kennedy honors and he's going to host the Olympics. And he's not, they would criticize Biden over the economy and say he's not focusing on that. And this, what is this guy doing? I mean, come on. And again, that's what I want. I want consistency. I don't want, like you said, Cliff, I don't want them pushing a liberal agenda. I just want them.
They don't have. That's the thing that drives me nuts, is they don't have to. They just have to.
Just report what's happening.
Just tell people what happened and what, Trump makes it so easy and they still can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes me mad. And again, look, I spend a lot of my time, as people here know, ripping into corporate media because I see 6 entities owning 90% of what we watch, hear, read, play as a serious problem. So I also try to point out, like when I say about you, that there's some terrific individuals who are in those entities. But you can't expect a system to be honest about something. And you see it with the ABC and CBS settlements. And you have to ask the questions about Colbert, because when I have to sit there and be like, oh, wow, look, Sherry Redstone just made $500 million off of the Skydance takeover. I'm sure that had nothing to do with Colbert at all. And then I have to ask myself a question, which is, in whose interest is it? Like, can I even figure it out? Did CBS want Colbert gone? Did Paramount? Did Nickelodeon? Did MTV? Did Enterprise Rent-A-Car? Did Lionsgate? These are no longer sort of news outlets. They're part of these huge conglomerates where there's conflicts of interest everywhere. Yeah. So that is my problem. Is even if there are some great individuals like yourself who work there, I have to be critical of the whole entities, because there just is no world in a democracy where 6 entities should have 90% of everything we're taking in. It is a recipe for disaster.
Well, and David, you kind of alluded to this too. I mean, with the stuff that Cliff is talking about here, the corporate media things, the whether it's Colbert, I think they're putting like a truth czar in at CBS News or whatever. If Biden had, I mean, come on, like people would have gone nuclear over that. I mean, I can think of different ways to try to explain it, but I do not honestly fully understand how he gets away with it and how it does not. There's just that there, and I will say there is something unique about him. Like, I do not think President Marco Rubio would be able to do this, for example.
As much as I don't like Rubio, I don't think he'd try, though. Like, I don't think he would be this abnormal on a daily basis. His policies would suck, but he wouldn't be legitimizing violence and wanting to give away part of Ukraine and all sorts of stuff like that.
So why the one guy who's the most dangerous is the one who can get away with all this crap? It baffles me.
Well, I'll be the first to say I think Donald Trump's the most charismatic politician we've had in the United States, and as long as I've been alive. Mm-hmm. And so, what does that say about our sort of maybe celebrity culture and our media, that we are somebody who is this charismatic, who one-on-one or in small groups, he can be charming, and even through the camera lens, he can come across as charming and sort of funny. It's like he's the ultimate snake oil salesman in a way that nobody else has ever been able to pull off before. And because of that, whatever Q factor skills, maybe in this day and age, that's why he gets a break. I don't know.
Yeah, but I do agree with you. His one talent is that sort of, and it's not a charisma that appeals to me, but it's a charisma that absolutely, you cannot question it. The guy's been elected president twice now.
It has a cultish following, so we have to accept. I've said it too. It doesn't appeal to me, but the humor, the whatever, clearly he has a charisma. I wouldn't go as far as David. I think Obama and Bill Clinton were 2 pretty charismatic figures, but Barack Obama was able to pull off winning with the name Barack Hussein Obama. You better have a hell of a lot of charisma in this country. But that doesn't change what David's point is that, and maybe it makes the point stronger, which is we're mostly only electing people with that kind of charisma. Right. So I guess it doesn't much matter. It turned out that Obama was a very thoughtful guy. It turned out that Bill Clinton was a policy wonk. Guess what? Like, it wouldn't have mattered maybe, because they could just be The Rock or Oprah or pick your person, and we would just, because that's the way the media runs it these days. Again, to me is the corporate part, right? Like to me, network predicted all of this. Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be, the news was supposed to always lose money. You were part of back when it was a more controlled thing, you're part of a network, and that network got a license for free to air shows and make money if they provided a public good, which lines up with democracy. The public good was news, and not in providing actual news. But then, any number of factors you can argue changed it. I think the initial one probably was Ted Turner with a 24 hours news station. And suddenly we had to fill all this empty time, and news became a profit-making enterprise. And
Well, the one thing, I mean, and to your point, yeah, we talk about Donald Trump getting away with it. The one story that seems to have he's not gotten away with, or that he can't seem to shake, has been the Epstein scandal, in part because of all the years of building up the conspiracy theories on the right. Rex, where do you see this going? I mean, Congress is going to come back in September. There are going to be votes to release more of the files. There's no way Donald Trump, I think, is going to release the files. The courts have basically said, no, we can't release the grand jury transcripts. But Donald Trump does have this power as president to do so. Where does this go? Where does the story, does it end? Does the story die off? Does it continue to be something hot? What do you see?
If you talked to me like 2 weeks ago, I would have said that this had actually become, this was the first thing that I have seen that I thought was actually problematic for him, that could really spell trouble, because it was dividing the MAGA base. I still think it might, but the big question mark now, and I'm not the first to point this out, but the leaks to the Wall Street Journal have dried up since Maxwell met with Todd Blanche and then was sent off to a cushy prison in Texas. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's not. Maybe the Journal's working on some big thing that's going to come out soon. I think that he has, for the moment, managed to quiet that down. Like you said, when Congress comes back, and there are, I believe it's Massey is the Republican who's pushing for release. So there could be a little bit there of some pushing. The problem, though, now is that, well, there are a lot of problems. One of the key ones, I think, is that they've now had enough time to gather themselves and scrub whatever needs to be scrubbed. I'm sure they've had time to, put the, sort of promise Maxwell something, whether it's a pardon at the end of his term or, whatever. Look, I've spent most of my career making fun of conspiracy theorists, so I try not to sound overly conspiratorial myself when it comes to this sort of stuff.
It's a whole different world now. I used to be that way, and now it's like,
yeah, but I mean, this
actually seem to make sense in the age of Trump.
Right, and it's pretty hard to not put 1 + 1 together to make 2 in this case. I mean, legitimately, like, this crap with Maxwell is obscene. His defense attorney, who happens to now be in the DOJ, is the one that meets with her with nobody else around.
Remember, Bill Clinton once met with what's her name for like 15 minutes on a tarmac, and that was the end of the world.
Right. So it's all absurd. So where it might hurt him is if we get more. And I don't think the more is going to come from anything that goes to Congress or anything that the DOJ releases. I think that's all going to be scrubbed, and Maxwell will probably, she'll testify that she's never heard of Donald Trump and that he never saw it, whatever. But if there are other leaks, because I think the one error they've made is that by having, I think it was 100 or more FBI agents come in to go through those files and redact names and flag every mention of Trump, he grew the universe of people who know about this dramatically, which increases the odds of possibly some additional information coming out. So right. if there's something that comes out from those files somehow in some capacity, that could trigger that rift in the base again. And that could be
I think I would argue, and I'll say quickly, I know we don't have that much more time. I think there's 2 ways that this can very much continue to damage him. And the question is, will it? One, it was quite obvious for a bit there and now he's trying to make up for it by sucking up that he was in a rift with Putin, right? I mean, Putin was sort of like, I hired you to do one thing, deliver Ukraine. The one thing you changed the 2016 platform and whatever. Right. Not only does he not do that, not only are they being embarrassed, not only are they running out of men to send out as cannon fodder, but Zelensky embarrasses him and makes him look pathetic with that whole thing with the drones going thousands of miles in the trucks coming out, and a $47,000 or whatever it was operation by Zelensky caused $8 billion+ of damage, took out 40-something Russian fighters, planes, and he was humiliated. And wanted to know what the hell Trump knew. And you always can tell because some of those other figures that have, let's just say, may dream in Russian. I don't know, like General Flynn and a few of the other ones were like, how the hell could that be pulled off? Like when you start sort of looking for the patterns of who kind of speaks for Vlad, whether they do purposely or not. you could tell he was pissed. And I have a feeling, again, this sounds conspiratorial, but I'm sorry. In the age of where we know Russia is messing with our elections, I have no doubt in my mind they were pushing some of the Epstein stuff. And who knows what they even have.
Yeah,
that true. Putin was doing. The second part is the right-wing entertainment complex, which wields so much influence more than the party does, and who gets, nominated, all that kind of stuff. They dug in so deep on the whole Epstein front that the end result is that a lot of their viewers, Q types and whatever, were just like, this was a known truth. Democrats were running this ring out of a pizza place and all this stuff. And suddenly, that's why you saw it was those guys, the Alex Joneses and the Tucker Carlsons, whatever, that were attacking Trump, because their audience was attacking them. And they care for, Trump is only important to them as much as he provides them with ratings, protects them and their audiences. And so the question is, will their audiences remain as sort of animated about this because they ran on it for a few years? Can Democrats keep the issue alive? Will more stuff leak? Whatever it takes, so that some of those figures have to keep going after. Some of them have dug in and already gone after Trump so much that it's going to be hard for them to dial it back. But if they continue to do that, I think that's the other way this also could stay the issue and really hurt him. But we have to see. We don't know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The one thing I've been wondering about, wishful thinking, I suppose, but is as the economy is, people are going to start feeling this stuff. There's been a longer delay than I expected, but it's coming, right? So, some of the golden age rhetoric, and I'm going to make everybody rich, and your life's going to be great, and food's going to be free, or whatever, blah blah blah, is going to fade. And I wonder, while the obvious self-enrichment continues, and I do wonder if there's a point where Trump, it's not, and the Epstein stuff can factor in here as well, where if he just becomes boring, and that's when that right-wing ecosystem starts to turn on him a little bit.
Right.
Because, okay, you're halfway through your last term, God willing, and we're still struggling. We're pissed. Grocery prices are high. Unemployment's up. And you haven't given us the Epstein files. And it seems a little dodgy. And we're watching you get rich off crypto bullshit.
And he's still bankrupting farms and ranches by supporting their help and construction companies. And those folks, you can't tell them, hey, you still have a ranch if they don't have. You can BS them on a lot of things. But if money is not coming in from a ranch that doesn't exist anymore, kind of hard to pull that off. So that is the other thing, and that was going on even before Epstein, where he had lost double-digit white, non-college educated men. Yeah, because of that. So that's a question too.
Yeah, so if the that whole right wing, what'd you call it? The entertainment? It's entertainment.
Right wing entertainment complex, or call it whatever you want.
Which is a good description. They're looking long term. How are they going to keep cashing their checks? And again, if he becomes, if pivoting to not liking him and feeling disappointed and stuff becomes more profitable than kissing his ass, then I think that'll turn on a dime. I no longer expect anything particularly good to happen. I've kind of given up on the pipe dreams of we got him now, because that always seems to fall flat. But they're legitimate possibilities. There are Epstein stuff could catch him a little bit more. The combination of the Epstein stuff and just kind of him riding out his term, making money, flaunting gold, going to the Kennedy honors, Bob, trying to just show what a fancy guy he is. That could start to piss people off, and there's
also, as you wrote about, there's further dementia. This is not a process that's going to stop. His brain could literally be melting out of his ears next week. He could just be spouting random words as he walks around in a circle and chants. There's that. There's actuarial charts that tell you if you eat like a 12-year-old, don't exercise, don't sleep, rage tweet from the toilet, it tends to not be good for you in general. Yeah. And even though Ronnie Jackson said he was going to live to like 325 years old or something in that thing, smart people, Sanjay Gupta, I believe, was one of them, whatever, looked at that chart at that time and said, he has the beginnings of heart disease. These are objective truths. So there's that a possibility too, that we have to, take seriously, which
Well,
is,
they were able to keep Biden away, as has been much publicized, and at this point, away from the cameras a good amount of the time when they were concerned about how he would come off. You can't do that. Trump thirsts.
Right.
He lives on that. Is his lifeblood. Is like, again, today, the Kennedy Center thing, I think he rambled for like a damn hour or so, having most of it having absolutely nothing to do with what he was there for. So he will always put himself in front of those cameras. And if he
right, but also they can't Weekend at Bernie's it, I don't think.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. So his as he continues to as he gets worse, basically, it will be hard for them to hide that, because he will insist on putting himself out there, even if he sounds like just gibberish, which he already.
Hey Rex, I gotta run and do a day camp pickup. But where can we find you in addition to your columns for USA Today? Where else are you on Substack? What's
no, just usatoday.com. In the opinion section, you can look me up there. And then I'm on Blue Sky. I've abandoned the site formerly known as Twitter. I think I wasn't able to delete my account. I got like locked out, and then
that kept happening to me too. So like I still put up videos and like stuff, but I don't do anything else. I don't interact with people. I just put up promotional stuff because I can't seem to shut it down. So
yeah, I can't even get into it anymore. So it's like literally just sitting there. I have no control over it, and I don't care. So, but anyway, I'm on Blue Sky under just Rex Hubkkey. Okay. That's probably the best place. I have a Facebook page under Rex is a Jerk.
Are you
an honor to be? I'll let you guys keep going if you want, but I'm going to run. Cliff, okay. Thank you. Rex, an honor to be on with you. Love your stuff.
Same with you, David.
I'm a loyal reader now, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks as always, David, for being my much more talented half here.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Take care. And I'll let you run out of here soon, Rex. I mean, we're not going to go much longer, but I did want to ask, because I saw our trusty and intelligent moderator here, Jim, put up earlier in a description of you, he said that you also were contributing to the Contrarian. Is that true?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know where that came from. No offense to Jim, but if I've contributed to that, I'm not familiar with it.
No, that's fine. I want to know. I don't know how this works. I mean, it is. I don't think they can just grab your stuff and use it, right? Unless they have to deal with USA Today.
Yeah, stuff gets picked up all the time, or it could have been. A lot of times too, I get lumped into a lot of like I've been on Daily Kos a lot and other places where they do like roundups of like columnists and stuff like that. So I mean, USA Today is big enough that stuff tends to kind of get sucked into all kinds of different places online. So all right. I'll take it. Yes.
No, I mean, it's one of the bigger sites here, and they do some good work, it seems to me, from looking at them. So if they're sharing your stuff, good. More people are seeing it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm all for it. Actually, I'll as long as it's not a bad place, I'll admit that
I maybe will start looking when I'm writing my columns and just start excerpting you and taking at least a paragraph every time and being like, I need my funnier Chicago friend. I'm going to put this in there, and I hope that's okay, everybody. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this, and that way it's been a while.
Always love to talk to you, though, and man, congratulations! You're doing great stuff here, and it's important. And I am so glad to see your voice out there, as well as the voices of others that you bring on and everything. It's super important, and I mean,
what you're doing at USA Today is this. I mean, obviously the same thing, because again, there is a lot of media out there, call it what you will, big or whatever, that media, corporate media, this or that, the other thing, where I don't think people are getting that, again, objective truth, not liberal, but objective truth. And you are doing that. And so all I'll do is, you've made me actually think a little bit if maybe I should make at one of our things on Monday or Wednesday that we do a weekly sort of, put in a full quote by Donald Trump or something like that. Because people, they really do need to see it to understand how batshit crazy he is. Yeah. And not enough people do. And so I hope you'll continue to do that.
That's the plan. Yeah. As long as they keep paying me to write stuff, I plan on continuing. And as long as I'm not in, the journalist wing of Alligator Alcatraz or whatever. So
now they're creating Coyote whatever out in Nevada. So, I like the dry. I've told them, you and I, maybe we can be cellmates out there or something, because I don't like the humidity as much. I'd much rather go to Nevada if they're going to put me in a camp somewhere. I mean, if we get, we have the right to sort of make small requests like that kind of
Yes,
thing.
please put me somewhere where the air is clean and the humidity is low.
Yeah.
So,
hey man, thank you so much for being here.
yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and continued awesome luck here. Always happy to talk.
We will be in touch. I definitely will be in touch. Take care, bud.
All right, you too. See ya.
See ya. All right. That was the awesomely great Rex Hubkkey. And again, guys, I don't know. I may just go in and mess around with. I was away for 2 days, as I said. I was seeing Lincoln Park in Chicago, but that's not an excuse because there are plenty of other days of the week. And I just probably need to go in and mess around with things in here and make sure that things are working, set up, logos are okay, all of that. I'm sorry that when we first came on air, it didn't go on. That was a glitch. That one wasn't actually me. I'd hit the go live. It told me it'd gone live and we had not gone live. So I had to ungo live and re-go live. And then we were live, if that makes sense, what I just said. Or maybe that was like what Trump said yesterday. Somebody as Amethyst Pony, at least we have South Park for now. That is very true. I could have another rant in me. I'm not sure that I do though. I'm tired. It was a wonderful trip to Chicago. All of you who've been through this kind of thing will know. I'm having a hard time right now a little bit because my older son is leaving for college in about 8 days. We've got a thankfully great relationship, like a lot of the same music, do stuff together. And so we went to Chicago to go watch Lincoln Park, which was to see Lincoln Park, not Lincoln Park in Chicago, as in the one named after, Abraham, but to see the band. And we both love them. And it was a blast. But let's say in my case, there may have been a late night and it's a 5-hour drive to Chicago and back in two days. And there may have been tequila involved. So I'm a little bit, Lefty Gramps is in there. Yes, but it was a great show. It was a great show. And what about martial law in DC? I did write a whole Substack on that, as I'm sure you know, Lefty Gramps. And compared it. I really excerpted a lot. You can either look that one up. Was it Tyrannical and Twisted Trump sends his troops into DC, I believe it was. But I excerpted from one I wrote when I was in Rome about a little over a month ago, about looking at the Roman Colosseum and everything and seeing our future if we didn't change things. Crossing the Rubicon, which is what Julius Caesar infamously did, and that was the end of the Roman Republic when troops came into the city, their own troops. They always prevented that because they understood what we have understood, that it is a recipe for authoritarianism. We're seeing it with ICE. You start bringing in the National Guard and other troops too, and it just gets worse. So, if you start to read it, you can finish it. Lefty Gramps, others can check it out. I can even be crafty about this. Watch this. And put it in here. There we go. Oops, almost put myself on twice here. And 2 of me is way too many. So here's the link for those of you interested in reading it. As always, I'll say, please subscribe over at the Substack machine. We've got one of the larger, and we're at this point we're reaching a lot of folks and doing some great interviews tomorrow. Jim already put that up. We have an interview with Olivia Troy. You may know she was the national security advisor to Mike Pence and left over crazy Trump and the changing of Republican stance on foreign policy. That they've been insane about Iraq, I would argue, but a lot of the pro-NATO sentiment and that kind of stuff had been good, that had come from sort of more of a George H.W. Bush internationalism view of that we should support our allies and that kind of thing. And once we became isolationist Nazis, she took off, and she is an honest voice, and she's been great. So hopefully you know who Olivia Troy is. And she will be on Mr. Natural. Does Gaza ring a bell? Yeah, I've heard of Gaza. I'm not sure in what context you're asking. There's horrible things going on there. People are being starved, and it's terrible. But I don't really understand how that relates to what I'm talking about right now. My only issue with the constant discussion of Gaza is, why aren't we talking about the ethnic cleansing of Azerbaijan, of Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh? Why are we not talking about what is going on in South Sudan? What's going on in Gaza is terrible, but there are a lot of terribles going on in the world, and I wish we would kind of cover all of them. I think let's walk out of here on this, and this will be a semi-rant, which is, folks, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to stay dedicated. I will keep doing this live stream. As you know, it goes to Substack. Yes, it goes to LinkedIn. It goes to a bunch of places, but YouTube has always been kind of the main place. We have 125,000 subscribers. Awesome. Please subscribe to our YouTube. However, it seems they've changed the algorithm yet again. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about monopoly media. Yes, these 6 entities that control 90% of what we see, hear, write, think, it's incredible. Like, you've got this huge monopoly. We already seen what's going on in public. ABC, $20 million settlement. CBS, what was it, 20? I don't know how many millions was their settlement. Getting rid of Stephen Colbert. We saw CNN get rid of Jim Acosta. I've actually been on his show on Substack. He's fantastic. Again and again, seeing sane and quality and talented voices pushed out, seeing these guys bow before Trump. Tim Cook of Apple bringing a 24-karat gold gift for Trump, which is repulsive. And so it leads you to ask, what the hell is going on at Google? Because they've also publicly made sure to kiss Trump's ass. I don't know if they've given any money to him that I'm aware of, but suddenly YouTube's algorithm changes. Suddenly I'm getting a lot fewer views, and it's not just me. It's a bunch of other people I talk to. So here we go again. This is what I tried to always prepare everybody for and say, one of the main reasons I wanted you to go and subscribe at blueamp.co. It's just blueamp.co over at Substack, is that we get your data, and not all your personal data like I'm marketing, just your email, so we can keep in touch with you. So I know if I go somewhere else, people that actually enjoy what I do, I can let them know. I don't get that from YouTube. YouTube won't answer me when I reach out to them. They don't tell me what's going on, and they randomly change algorithms. Substack doesn't. And when you write a piece that you send out to your list, there is no algorithm. It's just on the notes section, which is like the Twitter section there. And frankly, that's only a small part of it, as far as I'm concerned. So, and they don't randomly do it, but these guys did. And now, if I'm going to be conspiratorial, it's funny that, man, a couple of other folks I've talked to on the left massively lost views in the last week or two. So there we go again. We've got big tech bowing down. And has this happened 100%? I don't know. I've heard it from a couple sources that I tend to trust. But the bigger deal, of course, is we know Apple has bowed down. We know that Disney, ABC has bowed down. We know that Paramount, CBS has bowed down. We know that CNN, Time Warner, or whoever the hell they're connected to at this point, like again and again and again and again. And then, of course, Comcast spinning off MSNBC and CNBC, which I don't think anybody's grabbed it, so they can, be free to merger up more, because maybe we can go from 6 down to 4 entities that control everything we see and hear and whatever. But I do know that I'm getting a lot fewer views. I do know I don't trust this. I've never trusted this. I do know that it's utter bullshit if this is what YouTube is doing to make Trump happy, because you knew he'd make this ask at some point, that those who had who were being seen on YouTube to, like, let's tamp down the folks on the left. If you're pushing out Acosta and Colbert and people like that, of course, what are you doing behind the scenes? And so again, if my rant were to be anything, it's yes, I'm going to keep putting my stuff up on YouTube. I'm not leaving. Screw them. But please, go to Substack, go to blueamp.co. You may know, and I think I've told you all before, we have something called the Sound Check Fund there. We've already given out, and we'll be announcing. We keep saying that, but I think it's on tomorrow's show. I have to check in with somebody. We've already given out 4 checks to folks. We put aside 10 or something. I remember a decent amount, $1,000, and we could give smaller checks to creators to help boost them. That was coming out of our paid subscriptions. So please become a paid subscriber there. And I can't be a billionaire. I'm not going to be a billionaire. But what I am going to do is, in this platform where we're bringing in some funds, is I'm going to try to boost other folks there. I may boost people other platforms too, but Heritage Foundation is doing what it can apparently to try to buy TikTok, and Trump may force the issue. YouTube obviously is now a platform that is screwing us over for whatever reason. And we've talked about plenty of these other platforms. The only one right now that I have any trust with is Substack. So those are the creators that we're going to push through the Soundcheck Fund. But point is, go to a lot of different media, make sure you're getting honest voices, because right now they are doing their best to stifle what we say and what we do. And you know that from what you've seen out there. We'll call that a semi-rant, if not a full one. I'm going to head out, guys. So who's coming with me? You know our little thing at the end. We got one. I got to give it to Sheldon Hughes, as always, a free membership. Thank you very much. Anybody, just so we can feel good going out the door, because as I told you, funds we get, we put into this, we put into Substack, we put into helping creators. So is anybody, come on, anything, $1.99, 99 cents, any kind of small super chat, any kind of, small super sticker, whatever you folks can do to support us. There we go. Sheldon Hughes again with $2. Thank you so much. Again, there is no amount too small here. Anything we do allows us to support other creators and allows us to make more noise, allows us to push back on a right-wing machine. There was a point where Alex Jones was making $800,000 a day, guys. Put that in perspective. Lefty Grams, $5. See you tomorrow, Cliff. I'll finish reading your piece. Thank you so much. I should highlight you on the screen here. I will. Yep, tomorrow, Olivia Troy at 2 to 3 p.m. Only on Substack. And I should have put up Sheldon Hughes too. Thank you, Lefty Gramps. Thank you to where did you go? Wherever did you go, Sheldon? Thank you, Sheldon, for the 2. I see we have another one. I see we have Mr. Natural. Gaza is an open air prison. DC is next. DC may be next. But again, Gaza is horrific right now. But I'm going to always keep encouraging people. Like, it's the one that our media is covering. I don't, there are various reasons they may be doing it, but please, let's cover all of these things. Let's make sure people know. The hard time I had in letting people know about what was going on to these poor folks who are Armenian, who suffered through a genocide 100 years ago, and it's not even accepted. I don't even think the United Kingdom has accepted it yet. We just did during Biden. And they were ethnically cleansed by Azerbaijan, who met with Moscow the day before. So my point is, we need to talk about all of these. I'm going to get a list together and make sure we're talking about all of these situations. And I've always said, as somebody of Jewish heritage, Bibi Netanyahu is a war criminal, is everything Trump is or Putin is a scumbag and whatever. Remember, there are some good folks who are in Israel, because I've seen some anti-Semitism. They're good people. Most of the people out in the streets marching against him. They want him out. The system has allowed him to stay in. They've found ways to rule through coalitions, minority rule. Sound familiar with Donald Trump? Just the way most of us hate that motherfucker. Same idea. That's all I ask from people. Hold on. We've got another one. My gosh, you guys. Aren't you being awesome? And then I've got some, God, come on. There we go. Frida Love. Thank you, Frida. $10. Keep at it. Thanks, Cliff. I will keep at it. I promise. And when you do stuff like that, you help me keep at it and you inspire me to keep at it. So I got Leaping Lemur 79. Thank you, Cliff. Great show. Later, Cliff, everyone mods from Paul Young. Fascism is always defeated by its own. The tide is turning in Gaza. It is. And that's what I agree, that we're paying attention to that. And that's why I want to pay attention to these other places too. Because when you shine a light on them, terrible things stop happening. They tend to, not always, but it's easier to stop them from happening. That's it, guys. I wanted to grab, obviously, anybody has a super chat or super sticker or anything, the more, the merrier, the more people we can support. So I will take what you got as I'm on the way out. But I will say I wanted to hit 5, and we hit 5. And so I'm incredibly appreciative of all of you for being here, for watching, for supporting us. And, hey, don't always make it live. Thanks, Cliff, from Paul Young. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy you did today. Try to make it tomorrow, too. Only on Substack, as I said. But with that, thanks for everything. You guys, honestly, are the best. Should figure out a meetup or something. I don't know. We'll do something cool at some point soon. It'll be easier if you join me at Substack, because I've got emails. I can actually reach out to you. Okay. Keep fighting, but, also enjoy yourselves tonight. Find a way to relax, whether it's a nice glass of wine or a massage or, some classical music, whatever it is. mental health is important, and this is a long fight. So stick in it. And of course, Lauren, I believe it's pronounced Ipsum, jumps in right before I'm about to leave with a $5 super chat. You are fantastic, Lauren. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you. Can't tell you how much it means to me. You know, I get to do this and fight the fight, and I'd have to fight the fight no matter what. I'd rather not do it, you know, without a home. So you guys make that happen. That's it. As the sun sets slowly in the west, my friends, I bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for being here.